So welcome to Boxing Media Hub, and I've got a dear friend with me. I've got Simon, and the news sort of crashed a couple of hours ago about Whyte VADA findings again. We'll just go for it with the statement from Matchroom. 5th of August 2023, today, the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association, VADA, informed Matchroom that the Association of Boxing Commissioners and the British Boxing Board of Control, that's a mouthful, isn't it, that Dillian Whyte has returned adverse findings as part of a random anti-doping protocol. In the light of this news, the fight will be cancelled and a full investigation will be conducted. Further information on the event will follow. So that was from them. Dillian has poured out with this one. I am shocked and devastated to learn of a report by VADA of adverse findings relating to me. I only learned of it this morning and I am still reacting to it. I have also just seen that the fight is being cancelled without having any chance to demonstrate my innocence before the decision was taken, to which they would just have to cancel it anyway, to be perfectly honest, if it's findings. I can confirm without a shadow of a doubt that I have not taken the reported substance in this camp or at any point in my life. I'm completely innocent and asked to be given the time to go through the process of proving this without anybody jumping to conclusions or a trial by media. Let's hope that's not a year as well. I insisted on 24/7 VADA testing for this fight, as I have done voluntarily at my own expense for all of my fights for many, many years. This is not the first time that I have been reported as having adverse finding for a substance which I have not taken. And as I did last time, I will again prove that I am completely innocent. In the meantime, all I can do is express my extreme disappointment to boxing fans who will miss out on what was sure to be a great event. To be fair, well put together. I think he hasn't, he's highlighted the fact that it's come up before, and he's spoken about, he's kind of put everything encompassed in that statement. But it's a bugger, in it, Simon, because I was really looking forward to it next weekend, and big shout out to I've got Romford blood in me. You're a Romford boy yourself. We were absolutely buzzing for Johnny Fisher's first title fight. Really gutted for him. Then they announced that Dell was going to be on the undercard as well. You can't beat Dell. I think Campbell Hatton was on there as well. The usual suspects. Hergovich fight as well. It was all built up.
Throw in Sweet Caroline. You've got a party. Summer party.
Yeah, exactly. So a bit gutted more than anything, to be honest. But what do you make of it? He's come out with a statement and he's been pretty honest. That's all you can.
Yeah. I think for me, boxing is the loser here. I think this was probably the big fight that I was looking forward to from the summer. You've got AJ, you've got Dillian Whyte. They've got history. You knew it was going to be a proper fight, a proper slugfest. No love lost. And let's be honest, whoever took the fall on that fight, their career is going to be in real big jeopardy. There's kind of like no going back, and everything on the line. A summer kind of big title fight in the UK. Look, I'm a fair weather, well, not a fair weather. I'm a run-of-the-mill boxing fan that's growing, in interest of the sport. And I don't buy every pay-per-view, but this is one of those pay-per-views that I would have bought because it's worth it. We know about the fighters and there's something at stake there. And, this is really deflating. What with, Fury dodging Usyk, there's obviously stuff behind that. Obviously, that was the big fight. That's not happened. This is now not happening. It's just disappointing because, not only do we have the age of
another dent in heavyweight boxing.
Absolutely, and a quality undercard. For me as well. Some of these undercards aren't much. It's the big main event, but this here, I'd be tuning in from sort of like about 7:30 right the way through to the end, rather than 9:30. Are we ready for the ring walk? So for me, absolutely gutted by this. Obviously, in light of other things that have happened in the past, can't really judge until all the facts are in. It's disappointing at this stage. And is the guy, innocent? Really, really hope so, because I want to see this fight. I think it's a really good fight, and it's just a real flat disappointment that this has happened.
Yeah, it is annoying. As I say, it's kind of been labelled as the grudge match, the kind of the 1-1 scenario, which I don't really get. But Dillian had it back in the day. Joshua kind of levelled it in the pros, and this was going to be the whoever lost. Yeah, I can't see where they go. Where the other guy, it would have elevated to the Wilder fight, which was the potential.
Certainly.
I think the worry now is for Joshua mainly. What do you do? Do you go for this fight against Wilder in December? That's a long way off, and you need that sort of fight in between. I think he really does, especially a knockout win he would have needed, and I think he could have potentially got that against Whyte. I think he could have got that, but they've chucked in a few names into the hat. Obviously, Hrgović, but 26.99 for Joshua Hrgović. I think people they'd ask for refunds, but at the same time, it's still a fight, which would work for AJ. But would Hrgović want to risk the mandatory? McKean, but he's a southpaw, and it doesn't really sell for me. The biggest one that we were chatting about just before we came on, obviously, War Chisora. I know they're mates as well at the same time, but I think money talks with Dell, and would Dell pass up the opportunity of having a slugfest with Wilder, having that big purse at the end of it if he was to beat AJ? Because would you want to risk it as AJ against Chisora? I don't know if would you want to do that, Simon? Sorry, mate. I think your signal's gone a bit.
Hear me okay there? I think this storm is...
That's all right, mate. Just about here.
Sorry, Joel, can you hear me there? I think
I've got you, mate. I've got you.
I think the storm cut me out there. What would I do if I was AJ? I think you've hit the nail on the head on a couple of things there. I think, if the goal is Wilder, you need to have a quality fight, and you need to also have something to say you're back. And AJ hasn't had that yet. And, for me, he needs a statement fight. Now that Whyte, for me, Whyte, he's a great litmus test of where you need to be. If you beat Whyte, you're definitely up there as a contender. If you can't beat Whyte, then for me, you can't even be asking for Wilder. And unfortunately, AJ, as things have happened and we're on that sort of like downslope since Usyk, this could have kickstarted it back in. For me, you talk about Hrgović. I don't think he's going to give up his mandatory. I think it's just a bit too soon. And the fact that you're only going to get 1 week's notice, it's not fair. To put people onto that for a level of AJ. Like you said, I think the only realistic one you could put in there is Del Boy. He will be up for that. I know he would. He's made no secret of the fact that he would want to fight Wilder. And this would be potentially a stepping stone to do that. And I think he'd go for it. I think he'd be game for it. And could he upset AJ? Look, I'm a big AJ fan, but at the moment, you just don't know what you're going to get. Like, look, AJ will always be the favourite in both the Whyte and the Chisora fight, but you just don't know now. Whereas 5-6 years ago, you'd kind of take that to the bank, and it's a question of what round. Whereas now, it's is he going to win or not? So, big ask. It's just, they'll try to put something on, but in terms of a pay-per-view, I'm not going to pay for Hrgović. Would I pay for Del Boy? Not sure. Not sure. It's just, it just puts this in that heavyweight division. It puts it in a real difficult situation, because this could have really unlocked some doors and avenues going forward, and hopefully, could have been the return of AJ.
Yeah. No, 100%, mate. Well, I think the big thing is for people at home. I think the big thing is get if I can pull in a name that can do the job. And as I say, I think it'll only be Chisora at this point, so late on, because obviously he's trained for the same date. They both know what they're going to get. Chisora fights a very similar style, if not more unorthodox than Whyte, because you never know what you're going to get with Dell. But at the same time, I think that's as even as you're going to get. But let's see what happens. I hope for Whyte's sake that it does come back clear, because this is what, the second or third time that we've had this scenario with Whyte, and how many times do you get? I
think Joel. I think Joel as well is I've got a lot of sympathy for Whyte in his career, like how he was not given that title shot for so long, and
he's
also,
never stopped fighting, has he? For it, let's be honest.
And you know what? Credit where credit's due for Dillian. He's never took the easy option. When he had that mandatory, he took on some big names that were put in front of him, and didn't really dodge or sweep anyone. And he did get that chance, at Fury, and unfortunately for him, I think he found out where his level was, and that was, just short of, of an all-time great. Fury's a fantastic boxer, and I've got a little bit of sympathy for him. Again, it's another, allegation that's, kind of in the centre of the sport. We've seen with other fighters, it may not come true and it may not come to fruition. This needs to be tested. This needs to be sorted out, and it's just a shame that it's happening now. And I can't, I'm absolutely gutted. I was going to invite you around, a couple of friends, and actually have that, have a bit of a barbecue, if it weren't raining so much, and actually have a good old, a proper good old lads' night. It's just, a disappointment. But I feel sorry for the fans. Obviously Del Boy's Matchroom as well, so there is that kind of, scope where it would be easier to do it. But at this short notice, I don't think you're going to get anybody of any real credibility that can justify for me, a 20-25 quid pay-per-view.
Yeah. Well, there you go, Dillian. You've screwed up Simon's social life and you've upset him. So there we go.
I still like it. I'm gonna miss Hotel California. I love that entrance. He's got one of the best entrants. And let's hope. And I'm sure, obviously that's a pretty strong statement there. He's not. He's actually.
He's not dodged anything. I think he's been quite.
Yeah,
he's been quite clear. So
and if there was anything that kind of comes back, and if it wasn't found proven and that he was clean, then do we need to look into these kind of tests that are going on? Because this, is it starting to happen a bit more regularly now? Can they be better? What can we do? And as well, I hope for Dillian, he's got like a doctor and a physio that can actually show what the problem is, because if he hasn't got that defense, he's going to find it a lot hard to clear his name. And I hope for him he can clear the name, because this is a cracker of a fight.
Yeah. No, Simon, thank you very much for coming on. Make sure you chuck in the comments, people, how you see this one at home as well. Is there a replacement that we haven't thought of that could be that late guy? Someone even said to me, get the Andy Ruiz trilogy. And I turned around and I said, well, I think you've still got to pull him away from the buffet. But I think let's just see what happens. Let's see what happens here, people. Leave us in the comments what you think about the whole thing with the testing. Like Simon was saying, could we improve that testing at the same time as trying to defend these fighters a bit more if they are in the clear and they haven't done anything wrong? Because the fans and the fighters both suffer, because we could lose an entire card here because of that fight. So let's see what happens. Simon, you're a star as always. Thank you very much for coming on. And we'll have a catch up soon. Until then, have some of this.